Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's definitely something fishy going on here at the Dano channel. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dano channel. I am Dano. You are watching Making Magic with Dano, which is a Patreon-funded monthly series here on the Dano channel, where each episode I get to make a new art project based on a different Disney movie. Last month we did Snow White, because it's the first Disney movie. Why not make the first episode about the first Disney movie? And we did a cool screen printing project. This month we're going to be doing a clay sculpture based on Finding Nemo, because you guys can probably tell, I'm pretty excited that Finding Dory is going to be coming out now. Now, one thing you may be asking yourself is, Dano, wait a minute, what happened to May's video? This is May's video. It just took me a long time, and you're going to find out why in just a little bit. And honestly, clay is hard. Clay is a lot harder than I thought it was. You may recognize me as the guy who paints toms or vans on Instagram. A lot of people, you know my artwork from there. But you know what? I can do more than just painting. I know I can do other things, which is the whole point of the show, is for me to learn how to do new stuff, and at the same time, teach you guys at home how to do it as well. So we are going to be diving into a little bit of clay. What I started out with was some Fimo clay. I've got Sculpty clay, and I learned something this time around about clay, is that when it says soft, it means soft. Now, I've got a bunch of different stuff. I have even a bunch of different tools that I purchased, so I can sculpt little details and everything like that. Now, fair warning, I did buy Fimo soft clay, and I have to tell you guys, it really is soft. In fact, so soft that for what I needed it for, it was kind of hard to work with. Sometimes in art, things don't go as planned, and you can't give up. Like Dory says, you gotta just keep swimming. Like, no joke, you really do sometimes have to just keep swimming, especially when you're trying out a new medium. So to any of you artists or people who are getting into crafting and want to try stuff like this on your own, I have to tell you, don't give up. Just keep swimming. You'll get through it, and eventually, like in this case, in my case specifically, like what I started out with is not at all what I ended up with. Like, I went a kind of a different route altogether. I was going to make a sculpture that kind of looked similar to this, but I honestly felt like it was uninspired. I was like, I need to do something better than that. There's nothing magical about that. There's no oomph. I mean, it's cool to make a sculpture that looks like something, but I really wanted it to have like a cool magical element, and that's something I'm going to try to do each and every month on this series. If you guys want to take a look at my first attempt, here it is. You guys saw my first attempt, so since I know I'm going to be starting over and I'm not going to be keeping these fish the way they are, I went down to Michael's, the arts and crafts store, and I bought some clear fish bowls. I figured, you know what, if I can make them into a little contained thing, that's ideal. Because when I initially had the idea of doing a sculpture, in my head I was thinking I want to make like a mini aquarium. Like, not big, because I can't really send that to people, especially with water or anything. So I wanted to have the illusion of water. I wanted to have something that felt like the ocean, something that really gave that feel of underwater, but while using clay at the same time. So I decided to get these little fish bowls, but that meant I had to sculpt from scratch. So let's take a look at what I came up with. Now, you may have noticed what I started to sculpt in this last part was kind of something similar looking to this. We've got a brain coral, we've got some other stuff here that kind of just some, you know, some ocean looking, bottom of the ocean stuff, because I decided I wanted to make two different scenes. I had two different fish bowls. I'm gonna make two scenes. I'm gonna make one with Nemo and Marlin, because I want to sum up the movie, right? I want to like evoke the movie. So you have to have Nemo and you got to have Marlin. Those are almost the two main characters. It's hard because Dory too, right? Dory's there too. So that's why for my second scene I decided, and you guys might have noticed what I was making there in the last clip, I decided to make jellyfish. The scene where they're bouncing off the jellyfish is one of my favorite. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a scene, a nice cutesy scene with Nemo and Marlin kind of holding hands, little father and son moment, which I can definitely appreciate. And the other moment was gonna be where Dory and Marlin see all the jellyfish and get freaked out. So next, I'm gonna start making the little figures for Dory and Marlin. You guys ready? Let's check it out. Now that I've got my basic figures sculpted, what I have to do is go in and bake them. So I set my oven to 275 and I baked them for about 15 minutes or so. Now this is using various types of clay. I had Fimo Soft as part of it. I had Sculpey 2. I had a bunch of different kinds of clays because they were different colors that I needed for my project. And I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of bake them at a medium temperature because they all had different directions. They were like, do it at 275, do it at 325. I went right in the middle and I went with 275, which was in the middle. And I did it for about 15 minutes and then I just let them completely cool down. And it's during the cool down process is when they actually harden. So while I picked up the fish bowls at the art store, I also picked up a large can of resin so I can do a resin cast because I've never worked with it. And I'm really like always super stoked to work with new different mediums. So I figured, you know what, it may take me a little over budget, but whatever. I'm gonna do it. This is gonna make it look like they're floating in water. This is what I want. So that's what I did. I decided to start pouring my first layer of resin around kind of the base, and you guys can see what most of the resin casting looks like here. Now with the jellyfish in particular, I really wanted it to feel like they were going to be surrounding Marlin and Dory, so I kind of tried to make them float, and this was really hard because the way the resin cures is it takes like 25-30 minutes sometimes. It says it's going to be like 15 depending on how thick of a layer you are, but since I'm dealing with like an inch thick layer, or you know, a little less than an inch, it takes a while for it to cure or get to like this middle ground where you can float stuff in it, like stick stuff in it while not totally ruining it. So I did that, and I actually got like one of the jellyfish to stay up, and it worked out pretty well. Another thing I did to my resin, because I didn't have any dye, the store I went to didn't sell any like resin coloring or dye or anything like that, and I had no food coloring, I decided to use a little bit of paint. So I took a little daub of paint and I mixed it in with a, you know, just a wooden popsicle stick kind of thing in there as I'm mixing my resin and the curing additive, and it gave it this kind of cool blue look to it. So that's what I've got going on in the bottom layer of both of my little scenes here. So as my first layer of resin is really starting to harden, I decide it's time to take my little figures of Marlin, Dory, Marlin, and Nemo and paint them and add the rest of their details. Okay, and this is it. This is my final step. I need to basically put my figures down now to have all their details on them, and I need to cover them with the rest of the resin. Now, this is my first time doing this, so I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but I have to warn you, if you're working with resin, it gets hot. Part of its curing process when you add the chemical additive to it is that it warms up, and it gets very hot to the touch. And another thing I should tell you, the first time I did it, I actually did it in this room for the first small layer. Terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Yes, I had the windows open, I was even wearing a mask, but it was just not safe. The fumes were intense, and they kind of made the whole house smell like resin fumes for like 2 days. Don't do that. So you'll notice in the next scene, I'm actually in the garage where I do the final pour, and we can see my final results. Alright guys, here we have them, the final two projects. I've got one of Nemo and Dory. You can kind of see them there. They're kind of, it looks a little blurry from where you're at. Maybe here's some close-up shots of them. But I've got the jellyfish scene with Marlin and Dory, and also a final scene here with Nemo and Marlin, and it's kind of a father-son thing with them above the coral reef. Now if you look close, you can definitely see that from the two different pours, the ones where I had more of the blue paint and the ones where it was a little more clear, there's a defining line there in the in both of them. There's actually this very defining line that you can see from the two different resin pours, and you might notice that on one of them, the one with the jellyfish, there's this kind of coloring that kind of hit and took over Dory's face, and I'm not sure exactly what that's from. I'm guessing it's air that kind of settled, because this is something that gets hot and expands and it's in this little contained space. I believe it might have expanded a little too much and couldn't handle it, because if you notice across the top there is a crack. There's a crack, and I went in later and kind of filled in over it with more resin just to make sure it kind of filled in and looked good. And it fixed it a little bit, but you can definitely see there's a crack through the middle. But honestly, I kind of like it. When it comes to art projects and it comes to mistakes or things like that happening, I like to celebrate them. Because if you look at it this way, these are unique. These are one of a kind. These will never be made again. They're not mass produced in some factory in China. These were made by hand because of an idea that came out of my brain. Like, that's, like, honestly just weird kind of proud papa moment with my art pieces. The fact that I can do that, the fact that anyone can do that, that we can say, you know what, I've got an idea and I'm gonna just use my hands, my brains, and a little bit of money to make this happen. I mean, this is really, I love this. Honestly, I'm kind of sad that I'm gonna be giving these away. I just think this is a really cool idea. So guys, I hope you like them. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about these little aquarium things. I like the crack, because honestly, like art projects, they're like people. None of them are perfect, and that's kind of what makes all of us special. These are one-of-a-kind art pieces that will not be reproduced. I'm not going to be remaking these. And they are like legitimately one-offs, so you can use it just as something to put on your shelf, or you could maybe use it as a paperweight, because it is definitely heavy. This thing probably weighs at least 7 pounds. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm not a scale. But they're cool. I really like them. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Also, I want suggestions for July's video. I already have June's video, and you guys are like, what, is June now? Yeah, I know, it's June. Guess what? We're doing Mary Poppins. That's all I'm gonna tell you. We're doing Mary Poppins. Also, I decided that for this series, Making Magic with Dano, I'm gonna revisit movies, because I'm gonna do this Mary Poppins project, and I absolutely know before I do all the other movies, I'm gonna wanna do another Mary Poppins project. Same thing with like Toy Story. I have a really good Toy Story project in mind, but I know once I do it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do like 4 Toy Story projects. So just keep that in mind with the series going forward. I'm not limiting myself to just one project for one movie. I definitely want to jump all around the Disney timeline. Old movies, new movies, definitely animated, at least somewhat animated, like Mary Poppins. But stay tuned, because this month, still in June, in just a couple weeks now, I am going to be putting out another Making Magic with Dano video based on Mary Poppins. If you guys are new around here, hit the subscribe button, because I'd love to have you join the Dano channel family. Make sure to leave me a big thumbs up if you like what you saw, if you're excited for Finding Dory, or even if you just love Finding Nemo. Again, I want to hear what you guys suggest for July. Leave your favorite kind of art projects, leave your favorite Disney movies down below. Check out patreon.com/DanoFlores so you can be entered in to receive one of these giveaways each month. As always, I love you guys a ton. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.